Hey guys, it's Vanang. Today I want to explain you the basics, the absolute basics of Gauntlet. I want to explain what is Gauntlet, what do you get for playing Gauntlet, and how do you get those sweet rewards. And let's just begin right here. Gauntlet is another competitive mode in Duelyst. Instead of season ladder, you play Gauntlet. And the difference between Constructed and Gauntlet is that you can't choose out of the cards you own. You will be offered 3 cards a time, out of which you pick the one you like most, and then you create your deck on the go, basically. So you can start a Gauntlet run by clicking on the start button. When you don't have tickets, you can buy a ticket for either 150 gold or $1.99. When you start a game, you are offered 3 factions, out of which you can choose your favorite one or the one you want to play right now. And once you've chosen a faction, you will be offered 3 cards a time, like I've mentioned. You choose the one you like most or you think will net you the most wins in the long run. Do that 30 times and you will have finished your deck. You will then get to choose your general, and with your deck of 30 cards, you will play against other players who have created a deck in a similar fashion, and you try to get as many wins as possible until you lose 3 times. Okay, this brings us to the rewards of Gauntlet. Depending on how good you did in your run and how many wins you've had, you will get rewards. Let's have a look at this list here. Luckily, I've been recording all of my Gauntlet runs and their rewards since April. But still, keep in mind, it's not too big of a size. It's just, and also it's only my personal rewards. You might, depending on your luck, get something better or less good maybe. However, it's a good overview to show you how the rewards work in Gauntlet. When you don't win at all, you still get something. Regardless how often you win, you will get 1 spirit orb, which is worth 100 gold, right? It can be a normal spirit orb, it can be an expansion spirit orb. So right now it could be a Shimza orb. In the future, when the next expansions come out, I assume Gauntlet reward orbs can be from future expansions too. But that's not sure, it's in the future, who knows. So no matter how often you win, you will still get that orb. But the more you win, the more gold you will gain. As you can see here, with increasing amounts of wins, you get more gold. The same is true for spirit. So win more, get more gold, and get more spirit. The break point is at around 3 wins here. As you can see, at 3 wins, you gain basically your investment back again. You pay 150 gold, you get back 1 orb, which is 100 gold, some gold, and some spirit, which together make around 50 gold. That means you gain your investment back. This is the first breakpoint. The second breakpoint would be the 7 wins threshold. At 7 wins, you not only gain lots of gold, lots of spirit, you gain a Gauntlet ticket for free. So basically everything you gain after 7 wins is completely for free because you just got your Gauntlet ticket back, right? So this is the first threshold you should strive to reach when you want to play Gauntlet, getting at least 7 wins. And this finally brings us to the final topic and the most important one, the reason why you're probably here. How the hell do you get so many wins in Gauntlet? So, Gauntlet is different from Constructed because you don't have all the cards you wish, you desire, and because you have to draft them, and because during the drafting process the rarer quality cards are rarer, you can't rely on those. So first of all, if you are used to playing decks with many epics, with many legendaries, you have to dial back. You probably won't be able to see them anymore, or if you get to see them, if you're lucky and see one of those, it won't be as many as in Constructed. And second of all, because you don't know which cards you get, you can't and you shouldn't rely on combos. When you are drafting cards, don't rely on combos. For example, I don't know, things that are very regularly played in Constructed. The first thing that comes to mind would be Glacial Elemental with Bone Chill Barrier, right? That was and is sometimes a usual combo for Vespia Vanas, but that doesn't really work in Gauntlet because you can't rely on getting a Glacial Elemental, and if you do, you can't rely on getting Bone Chill Barriers or other Vespia. So pick your cards not based on potential combos, but on the value of the card itself. The card you pick should be valuable in and of itself. It doesn't necessarily need to rely on other cards. So how to know which cards are good and which cards are less good? I'm very glad you asked, because there is a Gauntlet ranking right here. It's written by Zelda, one of the best Gauntlet players. I will link this in the description below if you're interested to read it. Not only does he rank every single card in the game, he also explains why these cards deserve their rating and how these cards might change, how these ratings might change depending on which general you're playing. Because keep that ranking in mind. Don't be afraid to reference that ranking again and again and again, because it's not very easy, right? There are so many cards and it takes some time to learn those. So now that you know about the value of the card, it's time to talk about the curve. 1 second. Let's see here, down here, you can see what we refer as curve, which means how many minions of a certain, or cards of a certain mana cost you have. And it's important to have a good curve in Gauntlet. What does a good curve mean? So, for example, on turn 1, you want to be able to play something. You start with 2, or as player 2, 3 mana. So that means you want to have some 1-drop, 2-drop, or 3-drops. Imagine I didn't take this, and for the rest of the game I only pick minions that have 3 or 4 mana, or more mana, and I start as player 1, and I don't have 2 mana, I don't have a play on turn 1, I'm already behind. Because it is very important in Gauntlet as well as in Range to have something on turn 1, because, you know, with the thing you play on turn 1 you can run down to the mana orb and ramp up to 4 mana to play a big dude already, right? So it's important to have some 1-drops, to have some 2-drops. But how much do you need? Well, that's a thing of taste. The least amount that are recommended that I've seen is 5. 5 is what Zelda recommends, and it's a good base. I'm a little bit scared of having no turn 1 play, so I don't mind taking a 6th or even a 7th 2-drop as long as it is a good 2-drop. So at least 5. If you don't like having no turn 1 play, which I don't, go for 6, go for 7. 8 is arguably okay if you if they are really good ones. The problem is if you have too many of those 1 and 2 drops, they become not that valuable in the late game. Imagine you have 8 mana orbs and you only have 1 card in hand. Do you want this card to be a 2-drop, or do you want this card to be, for example, a 5 or a 7-drop? That's why you should pick enough 2-drops, but not too many. And yeah, how much is enough? 5 to, let's say, 7, okay? 5 to 7 2-drops. Then the next important thing to pick is not 3-drops, actually not 3-drops, but 4-drops. Why is that? Because 4-drops are much stronger than 3-drops. 4-drops are worth, actually, if you scale up 3-drops, around 4 1/3 mana worth. The good 4-drops at least. So 4-drops are much stronger than 3-drops. Also, when you have enough 2-drops, you will have a turn 1 play, which means you can ramp up to 4 mana, And at 4 mana, it's stronger in Gauntlet to play a 4 mana minion than a 3 plus a 1 mana minion. Just trust me on that, it's much stronger. So after you have considered your 2 drops, consider your 4 drops. How many of those? Well, I'd say 5. 5 if they are really good. If they are incredibly good ones, you can go for more. 6, 7, doesn't matter. And what about 3 drops? Yes, you should take some 3 drops, but I don't recommend more 3 drops than 4 drops. So till now we have 5 to 7 2 drops, 5 to 7 4 drops, and not more 3 drops than 4 drops. Because yeah, 3 drops aren't as good, aren't as amazing as 4 drops, and when you have the chance to play the 4 drop, you should do it instead of playing the 3 drop and a smaller minion. Well, after that, 5, 6, 7, I refer to those as the biggies. I aim for around 4 to 5 of those biggies, because any more than that and it gets too clunky. Because when you have 2 or 3 of those in your hand at the beginning, well, you can't really, you will take lots of time to replace those, to give those away, and it takes too long for you to be able to play those, and having too many biggies isn't good. So, okay, we have 5 to 7 2 drops, 5 to 7 4 drops, less 3 drops than 4 drops, and around 5 biggies. The rest should be utility. Utilities like Dispel, utilities like something to deal with ranged minions, so some sort of damaging spells. For Songhai, for example, Phoenix Fire. For Lionel, just as an example, True Strike. And some hard removals, if you can get them, is very nice. So Eggmore for Magma, for example, or Entropic Decay for Vitruvian, these kinds of things. But keep in mind, the base, the bones of your deck are your minions, and the removal things are only support. If you can get away with it, you should play minions instead of removal. If you're able to get removed with it, you will know that based on experience. This is something for another video. But for now, draft good minions and draft some removal. Don't skip on those removal. Use Zelda's ranking and explanation to choose between picks. Okay. A final drafting tip, which I found when I started the game very useful, which is what to draft and how to combine value with curve. Okay, I was recommended, and I give that recommendation to you. The first 10 cards you pick, just do it solely on value. Don't concern yourself too much about curve. Don't think too much about the archetype of this deck that you want it to become. You should be flexible enough to switch. Okay, you shouldn't be putting yourself in a mindset of I want to play aggro. I want to play, for example, Fae Vanna. I have to play aggro. Don't do that. The first 10 cards, pick by value. And when 2 things are equally valuable, then you should go then you should modify what you want to play, what you prefer. If a control minion is as good as an aggro minion, go for whichever you want or you feel more comfortable playing. But the first 10 cards, concentrate on the value. So the next 10, so cards 11 till 20, that's where you can start modifying the scores a little bit. If you have enough biggies, for example, you should de-evaluate other big dudes. And if you have enough 2 or 4 drops, you should de-evaluate the other ones a little bit, but not too much. Value is still very important. Also, these second batch of 10 cards, yeah, that's where you should think about the archetype. What kind of game you want to play? Have you gotten many valuable cards that win by value? Then you should try to go for a value game. For some things that can extend the game long enough. for those cards to generate their value. If you have drafted lots of out-of-hand damage, you should value aggressive cards like rush minions a little bit higher. And the final 10 cards are those that you should use to fix whatever is broken in your deck. For example, if you don't have enough 2-drops, well, can you say that in English? Bite into the sour apple? So you have to swallow the bitter medicine and take a 2-drop over a 4-drop or biggie that is nominally better, because you have to fix your curve. If you don't have Dispel and you get a Dispel and another good card, take that Dispel. But only do that in the final 10 or so, something like cards, because if you do that too early and that card comes up again and you have no other good choices, well, you have 2 of those, but you might not need that many. So what I'm saying is, to summarize, first 10 cards, just go for value. The next 10 cards, try to see what your first 10 cards were, what kind of archetype they fit in, and draft according to that. And the final 10 cards, fix your curve, fix whatever doesn't really work in your deck, and try to smooth it out so it's a good working deck. Okay, that was a long talk about drafting, but you know, drafting is very, very important. With a good deck, it's much more probable for you to go to the high wins. But the deck is only half of the game, right? Then the other half would be playing the in-game game. How do you play a Gauntlet game? First of all, keep in mind, Gauntlet games tend to go longer than constructed games, because the removals are rare, because the spells are rare, because those Imba OP combos are very, very rare. And it's more like you play a minion, he plays a minion, you try to trade favorably, so your minion stays alive while his dies. And it's very, very difficult to generalize how to play each game, because it always depends on your hand, it depends on your general, it depends on your opponent. But try to play slower than you would in ranked. For example, if you have the option to remove your opponent's board with only 1 card, but you have the option to remove it with 2 cards, then obviously you should try to remove with only a single card, because your hand size is bigger, you have another option to replace later. Also, you get to keep whatever that other card was to play another time in another situation to get even farther ahead. Yeah, trust me, this will make sense whenever you encounter it. I think the bottom line is try to play slower. If you can get away with playing only 1 card, don't play 2 cards. That's my advice for how to play during a game of Gauntlet. Other than that, there are lots of positional things. This is something that is part of learning by doing. When you get crushed by a certain card and you realize, oh, you're getting crushed by it several times, keep that in mind. For example, Dancing Blades. It's very easy to play around Dancing Blades. So, and it's a common card, which you will see very often in Gauntlet, so keep that in mind and play around Dancing Blades. Or if you are, for example, facing Lionel, keep Holy Immolation in mind, play around that. And that's it, actually. I can't think of anything else that can be said in a beginner's guide. It's very difficult to generalize these kinds of things. But the most important thing is play often and play a lot. When you lose, try to watch your replay, try to recapitulate what happened, what did you do wrong, how is it possible that your opponent could beat you. In some games, you just didn't have the answer. If he plays a ranged minion and buffs it and you don't have a Dispel or direct damage to kill the ranged minion and he just runs away with it, well, there's nothing you could do about it. except for maybe next time draft those dispels, draft those out of hand damage. But in that deck you can't do anything against it. But sometimes when you watch replays, you will see, oh, that positioning was bad because you put it there, he could run there and put something else there. If you put it differently, he couldn't have done that, and you might have won that game. So that's the second advice. Go watch your replays. It's time consuming and it's a lot of effort, but I mean, if you want to get better at this game, well, you have to invest the time, you have to invest the effort, right? So, okay, that's it from me. I think this is all that I can share in that short amount of time. If you want to know more, check out my stream, check out Hasuku, check out Silver Mist. I will link their Twitch channel in the descriptions. Those are great Gauntlet players. Oh, I will also link Zelda's channel, but he doesn't play that often. And check out how they play. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask, because when we are streaming, we obviously want to interact. So to teach and so you get better, because we benefit from good players, because we want to have those very exciting games, right? Also, we just want to have some opponents at all. Duelyst right now has a very small player base and not that many Gauntlet players. That's also another reason why I'm doing this video. Okay, I hope you've learned something. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, just share it with your friends who you think might benefit from this video. And other than that, I hope you give that Gauntlet ranking from Zelda a try. I hope you give Gauntlet in general a try, and I hope my advices help you to gain more wins. Alright. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.